Welcome to episode 9 of the Culture and Arts Podcast, The Cap. My name is Joe Ruiz. Welcome back for another exciting week. David Merle, good morning.
Good morning.
How's everything going this week, buddy?
Hey, going real well. I preached at church last night, so exciting.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that on your Facebook. That's like the first time you've done that in a while.
Yeah, in about 6 years. So
what was the event?
It was called Closer, so it was actually like from 6 to midnight. There were 4 speakers, a lot of worship, communion, various things to kind of break it up and keep the time going on. It was kind of laid back, so people could actually come and go. They could come later, come earlier, stay for. And the intention was just to have a format where people could come and feel like they're getting closer to God and learn a few things and spend some time in worship. And I was one of the speakers that was asked to present something. So I was really stoked.
That's awesome. It wasn't like you were rated or graded or anything?
Oh, no, it wasn't like Preacher Idol.
Preacher Idol? Yeah, Star Search.
Right,
Pastor Search.
Right, Past
Star Search.
So I think I would do that show, though.
Judges give David Merle 3 3/4 stars.
I like that. Past Star Search.
So, right? Oh, Star Search reference. You can't beat that. I don't think they had the Preacher category, but hands down, Sinbad would have won. I mean, didn't he win every category?
Oh, yeah.
Here's Sinbad photo in the photo model category. He won forever.
And how about you, Jason? How was your week?
Good. Just ready for the show.
Yeah, excited. We are ready to rock and roll on the Cap this morning. All right.
Are you even old enough to remember Star Search, Joe?
Did you hear me just do the Ed McMahon reference?
I got you.
3 3/4 stars.
I did. But do you remember,
I remember it well enough to know that everybody who became famous lost.
Except Sinbad.
Except Sinbad.
Do you remember that Sinbad won every show?
Where is Sinbad now?
I probably Grand Rapids, Michigan.
I think he actually came to South Bend, Indiana.
Okay.
2 years ago or something, didn't he? And
Something.
perform?
Are you suggesting you're a B-list celebrity if you come to South Bend, Indiana?
C-list. Maybe, yeah.
So we've had some big names. Seinfeld's big, right? He's not C-list.
Well, he was big, yeah, and he was big in up until 93.
He did have a TV show that was kind of a big deal.
No, that was a big deal. That was a big deal.
Right.
But I heard that he came out to the Civic Auditorium. Mm-hmm. Is that where he was at? Or the Morris?
Yeah.
South Bend, what am I doing here? Come on. Yeah, but we get occasionally Alice Cooper or some 1970s rock band.
We do. We get a lot of the old time.
Even
groups.
Elkhart's getting Gavin DeGraw. I mean, come on.
Wow. Now hold on. We surely have to outdo Elkhart. I'm not knocking our Elkhart listeners
One would
here.
think.
But I would think South Bend would be a bigger draw. But I don't know.
So Jason's ready. He's amped up.
One more thing. The biggest celebrity that's came to South Bend is Brian Regan. That was a blast.
I did not know who Brian Regan was until you told me.
Well, and you're a better man for it. I'm actually... Are you a Brian Regan fan?
I've still not heard him do anything.
See, you've introduced all these things in my life. You need to pick some of my stuff up here.
You're right.
And Brian Regan would be a first. Go with him.
We had a great time with the Brian Regan show, and even most of the jokes were new material, but even the ones we had heard before, we were still laughing at and laughing really hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was hilarious. Besides the usher asking me to not take pictures or something, I got attitude, but...
Usher, there's another one that was on Star Search and lost.
Oh, he was?
He did. I think he was on there. He lost. Destiny's Child lost.
Usher was in that movie, She's All That, with Freddie Prinze Jr. and all that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you bring that movie up. I watched it yesterday.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was on television. I wasn't feeling very well. I was kind of laid back in my bed, and I turned it on. I loved that movie as a teenager, but I realized something yesterday. This is just not a good movie.
Now, I didn't realize till right? You didn't realize that till yesterday. But is his name Paul Walker? He was in that movie.
He was.
Did you always know that? I didn't put that connection together until I watched it recently.
He was in a slew of 1990s teen movies. I don't know. But
Fast and Furious, what's put him over the top?
Oh yeah. All
right.
I love Fast and Furious movies.
I've seen maybe 3 of the series. I need to go back. I enjoy them well enough. I mean, who doesn't like, cars and fast and...
Apparently me, because I was an hour into the first one and gave up on the franchise.
Macho guys, good-looking women, fast cars, a little bit of action, beating up some bad guys. I mean, come on, Jason. What's wrong with that?
I was just bored to tears.
In the last one... Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson jumps out of a vehicle that's a couple stories up from another one, and then lands on that vehicle, but then doesn't catch the guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was just showing off.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And I love how in every movie that they make, and they've made, I think they're going on like 8 now, they have to find some way to like make it more big and more bad than the one before it. It's like in this one, we're going to have a car. Okay. But in the next one, we're going to have an army tank.
Right.
And in the next one, people are going to be jumping out of a plane. In Fast and the Furious 8, I highly expect to see people jumping out of a Zeppelin.
Right. Right. I was anticipating like Fast and Furious Moonwalker or something.
Yeah.
Some kind,
Have they used a submarine at all?
No submarines yet. That's another good one that they
space
should
shuttles.
Space shuttles, yeah.
So
Fast and the Furious on the moon.
right.
Anyway, let's jump into our first topic this morning. Jason, tell us a little bit about this article.
There was a lady, she was on vacation, and they were traveling Iceland, and I believe they were visiting a canyon of some sort. She went into the restroom and changed clothes, and when she came out, she saw they were doing a search party. So she joined in the search party, only to find out later on down the road, she was the one they were looking for.
That is crazy.
Nobody recognized her with the change of clothes.
So how long were they walking around looking for her? That she was actually with them.
I think it was a significant amount of time. I thought the article said it was like 3 a.m. when they called off the search party and realized she was there all along.
I mean, wouldn't you hate to be like maybe an officer going back to their boss and they're like, okay, how'd the search party go? Oh, we found her. Great. Well, tell me how you found her. Well, she was in the search party, and and then the tirade from there. Well, she had a change of clothes. I mean, if I would hate to see how their other criminal investigations go. I mean,
in Ireland.
So, I mean, when we're talking, you might need fingerprints and stuff. I mean, a change of clothes stumped these people. I don't know. I'm kind of concerned about
There's
it.
a lot of crime in Ireland. I mean,
Is
you
it?
consider the fact that this little guy's been stealing people's Lucky Charms for a long time now.
Right. Well, I mean,
Got your Lucky Charms.
I mean, if there's a reason there's a lot of crime because the change of clothes evades the local law enforcement. I mean, and if it's going to go up now that it's well publicized, I mean, everybody will be changing clothes.
Yeah. I mean, that'll just be the common trick amongst thieves and other criminals. Is just bring a change of clothes, you'll be all right.
Right? They'll be changing clothes walking out of the bank.
Maybe we could, give these two Notre Dame rivals. But oh wait, they're getting robbed all the time.
Oh my goodness! So, if anyone getting lost over Notre Dame, you think have any search parties at Notre Dame?
Search party, yeah. Ever since Lou Holtz left, I think.
Man, yeah.
It's been a long search party.
Right, he should have changed clothes. So, man, he is the barometer of all coaches have been measured against. You know what I'm saying? That's a rough job.
You remember there was like a period of time where every coach that they brought in had like a 2-year shelf life, and then they just got rid of it.
Oh yeah, they had some good coaches.
Ty Willingham.
I love Ty Willingham.
Jason, you're the sports guy, man. You're not in this.
I hate Notre Dame though.
Okay.
South Bend resident here for 15 plus years. He hates Notre Dame.
You know, the weird thing is I liked Notre Dame until I moved here.
Someone got your Lucky Charms.
It's just when the top story on the news in April is Notre Dame had practice today. And not even the top story in like the sports segment of the news. The actual news. There's nothing else in the world going on we can talk about.
I will say that I hate that much because when I used to work at the children's campus, they would get the newspaper every morning on the unit. And it sucked because you get the newspaper and the sports section is for sports. But then the front page where the actual news is supposed to be at always had Notre Dame on it too.
Notre Dame sells papers around here. People love Notre Dame.
It's about the only thing selling papers these days, if that's the case.
So, well, I'm just saying, people here in South Bend, they love Notre Dame. And I would guess if you would move into other areas, they have the things that they follow, and those things sell paper. Mm-hmm. When you're in Ireland, the massive amount of criminals that are changing clothes that are on the run, that's selling paper. But here in South Bend, it's Notre Dame.
Well, let me tell you guys about this other story. Elijah Wood, you know the actor Elijah Wood, Frodo?
I'm familiar with Frodo.
Frodo Baggins. Mm-hmm. He does this thing every week and they posted about it on College Humor, where apparently on Twitter he calls it Text Prank Thursday. And he asks his followers to text random strangers something really ridiculous. And in response, whatever they get responded to them with, to send him a screenshot. So he asked people to send the following message. I slept with your girlfriend. She told me not to tell you, but I feel like such an a-hole. Now, if you received this text, what would be the first thoughts going through your head?
As much as the fact that I'm married would probably send it off like this is the wrong number to me.
Sure.
I mean, just to be candid, I get that text. I'm like, this is not the right. Now, if I slept with your wife, I'm sniffing this out a little bit, maybe. Not that I don't trust my wife or think that she'd be up against that. Yeah. But you get that text, I think a reasonable man sniffs it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? I'm coming to your house and, burning down your house.
Sure.
I don't know.
Now, I want you guys to chew on this for a minute because I'm actually going to send this text to a random number.
Just make sure it's an area code for like Idaho or something, or it's not even close by.
Right.
Do you guys know in Idaho? Here, I know Indy's is 317, so I'll use a 317 area code.
Wow.
And
you're really picking just a random number.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm really going to pick just a random number.
Right.
And so let's go with 4545 or something. And so we'll see what happens throughout the duration of the show. We'll see if anybody responds to this. And if anyone gets really, really upset, just remember that Elijah Wood told me to do it.
Right. Good idea. And hopefully that the lawsuit won't be directed at the cap and will be directed towards Elijah Wood.
It was done for entertainment purposes.
I feel you. Let me tell you a text I got one day. Because as a general rule, when someone texts me and it's clearly a wrong text, I mess with them.
Not surprising.
So I get a text. I'm sitting in church. Here's the opener wrong text I get. I'm sorry about the Snapchat last night. I mean, come on. Did I get a better opener than that? I mean, I'm sorry about the Snapchat. So I knew what was up. I knew where this was going. So I text what I assume to be a him back and say, oh, it's all good. No worries. And he's like, oh. And, so I say, I'm like, why'd you apologize? And so I'm trying to feed this what I imagine being an adolescent young man. I'm like, so, no worries. And so he goes, what you up to or something like that. And I go, what will be vague enough that this will continue? I say, bored. So he said, so then he's like, you want to have some fun, blah, blah, blah. And so then I just said, hey, dude, I'm just messing with you. This is the wrong number. I don't even know who you are. I mean, I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear anything back. One day I text someone and his response, I text the wrong number and he gets real indignant. And he's like, who is this or whatever. And then I'm like, your husband, because I thought I was texting Kim, and then that further, he's like, what kind of creepo are you? I love wrong text.
Well, so, I have officially sent the text message.
All right.
To the number 317-319-4545.
Hold on, I'm getting a text.
We'll see if we get a response back.
So, have I ever told you about the prank phone call, or the kind of the indirect prank phone call that I gave Jason one day?
This is a good one.
This is in the 90s, and this is when we were, Bill Clinton was president. We were in that conflict in Kosovo. So I call up a travel agency and say, hey, my name's Jason Merle, and I'm looking to vacation in Kosovo. If you could give me a call back at the following number, and I leave Jason's number. Jason, why don't you tell us what happened on your end from there?
I got a phone call from a travel agent, and
weren't you like half asleep the next day?
I think so. And she had everything ready, for this trip to Kosovo. I had no clue what she was talking about. Now, there was a hesitation in her voice, like she kind of knew this was a prank, but she kind of had everything ready just in case. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this is probably a prank, and I know who did it.
I love prank phone calls. I mean, I've called PetSmart before and said, hey, how much is your buffalo feed per per pound. And then they're like, we don't sell that. I'm like, how am I going to feed my buffalo? I mean, so, I go crazy.
The greatest prank phone call of all time was from the Jerky Boys record. Remember that from the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
You'll kick my dog.
Hello? Hi, I was just calling because I live down the street from you, and your daughter come to my house today, and she kicked my dog.
That one?
I don't remember the ins and outs of the Jerky Boys, but I've listened to probably most of the albums or whatever.
But you know what I'm talking about, Jason?
Yeah.
So,
that was my absolute favorite because the response was just ridiculous.
I remember one where he was calling for like a customer service rep, and he was insistent that he was good on the phone, but every time she tried to give him information on how to apply, he would interrupt her and be like, I'm good on the phone. I'm good on the phone. I love prank phone calls and prank texts.
I was a victim of another prank call that I wanted to mention. A few years ago when I was working at the radio station, I was working ESPN radio here in town. I had went in. I wasn't working that day. I'd bought some Cubs tickets from my boss. Well, while I'm there, there was a page over the intercom that I had a phone call, and I thought, well, that's really weird. No one even knows I'm here. So I pick it up, and I hear a voice that says, hey, Jason, this is Lou Piniella. Are you ready for the interview? Lou Piniella being the Cubs manager at the time. And I'm like, I'm sorry? And he goes, this is Lou Piniella. Are you ready for the interview? I'm like, yeah, hang on a second. So I put him on hold, and my boss is like, what's going on? I said, he says it's Lou Piniella, and he's ready for the interview. So my boss, Sean, knows immediately what's going on, picks it up, and he starts doing his impression of Ozzie Guillen, the White Sox manager, who's a foul-mouthed Latino. He says, yeah, this is Ozzie. Who the F is this? And we can hear everybody in the studio next door doing the morning show on U93 just erupt with laughter.
You know who else is good at prank phone calls? Is Joe Ruiz. And I fell victim to some of his before.
Yes.
And so to the point where I think my wife, Kim, returned the call, and then it added further confusion because when she got his voicemail, she didn't hear Ruiz, she heard Lewis. So she's like, some guy named Joe Lewis is calling us about our tax audit or something. It was crazy. So
Well, is that what it was? I was pretending to be from the IRS.
something crazy. It was either census or IRS or something.
No, it was the census.
Okay.
It was the census.
And
I remember, and I used this like really like nerdy, this uber nerdy voice.
Right. Yeah.
And I even appealed to a little bit of David's patriotism as I was.
Yes. Yes.
Because at the end of the phone call, which sounded something like this throughout the entire thing, God bless America.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was great. Prank phone calls.
That was good stuff. It made it so much better that Kim fell for it.
Oh, right, because it was like two people out or whatever.
Yes.
And
it's like a ricochet off of you and hit your wife.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the voice was so convincing, to be honest. Like another coworker found it because I think what you did is you left it on the work number. Here's how this train wreck happened. Yeah. He calls work and leaves it on the office voicemail.
Yeah.
A coworker gets the message, doesn't recognize it's Joe, so calls me and leaves a message. Hey, there's this guy calling you about the census or something, so here you go. And so then Kim calls based on that and then thinks it's Joe Lewis. So I think some Joe Lewis guy is hunting me down to do my census. So and they were cold calling census hardcore back then.
I think that's what it was. Is it was during a time when they were doing the census, and I think that they had even made mention that you could get in trouble for not
right.
for not filling out the form and sending it back or something like that.
Right.
And so I was giving David a hard time as if he had not done the work.
And that I was somehow less of an American.
Yes.
So I love this Elijah Wood thing, this prank text stuff. That's good stuff.
It's great, and especially that he does it every week, and it's something random and it's something fresh. At what point do people start to realize what's going on? Because I've prank called you so many times now that if you get a zany phone call, you automatically assume it's me.
Yeah, very likely. To the point, and Jason always, I think, assumed it was me back in the day as well. But he claims no matter what name I used, I had the same voice. So, my Spanish guy sounds like my Arab guy, that sounds like my British guy, that sounds like, So,
That's
my
funny.
American Woman. It was all the same voice, I suppose.
I try my best to disguise my voice.
You do a good job.
I work on impressions frequently.
The thing is that these radio stations do a great job pranking people in the morning. And you would think that people would say, is this Z105 or but they don't. They just assume that they're just being harassed by the WWE or whatever the particular particular prank is on that day. Or they'll call these businesses and just order these absurd orders for service and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, good time. Prank phone calls. Tip the cap. Premature.
Tip the cap. You're gonna do it early?
Yeah, the prank phone calls.
Yes. I guess that leaves only you and I at the end of the show. David forfeited his.
Right.
But speaking of absurd, let's get into this topic. There was a video campaign put out this week. It was Beyonce, Jane Lynch, Condoleezza Rice, Jennifer Garner, and some guy that nobody recognized. Oddly enough, there was a guy in this video. But it's called The Fight to Ban Bossy. And, so it sparked my curiosity because it's got Beyonce in it. And I had to kind of see what was going on there. But basically what they're trying to do is they're saying that girls at a young age are less likely to take leadership positions or desire to take leadership positions because they are worried about being labeled bossy. And so they're asking that we get together and we ban the word bossy. Hashtag ban bossy.
Pushy. Stubborn. Pushy. Stubborn. Bossy. Bossy.
When I was growing up, I was called bossy.
I think the word bossy is just a squasher.
Being labeled something matters. By middle school,
Girls are less interested in leadership than boys.
And that's because they worry about being called
Bossy.
We need to tell them it's okay to be ambitious.
we need to help them lean in
words matter.
Let's just ban the word bossy.
and encourage girls to lead.
To be strong and be ambitious.
Listen to your own voice. There are no limits.
Dare to be you.
You can change the world. Let's ban bossy. Be brave. Be you.
Ban bossy.
Join us to ban bossy.
I'm not bossy. I'm the boss.
Encourage girls to lead. Take the pledge at banbossy.com.
Then at the end of the video, Beyonce says, "I'm not bossy, I'm the boss," which kind of negates what they were saying in the video prior. But what do you guys think about this?
Go ahead, Jason.
Isn't telling me to ban bossy being a little bossy?
It is a little pushy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, Beyonce. I'll ban what I want to ban.
Yeah. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to ban.
Quit bossing me around, Miss Boss.
And then, according to her logic, then she would back away and she would say, "Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're a man. You be the leader."
Oh no!
Is that all right? Is that not what she's saying?
So I have mixed feelings on this. To be kind of serious about it for a second, I think this just somewhere at the root of this is our society's denial that men and women are different, and that children may manifest different tendencies and then have to be corrected differently at a younger age. Now, this is going to sound weird, but I think that a girl, I'm not asking parents to squelch real leadership qualities that arise in a female. Mm-hmm. But I do think sometimes children exert, because they don't know the social norms, sometimes they are bossy. Sometimes they're not playing by the normal social rules, so a parent says, "Hey, you're being a little bossy, back down," or whatever. Now, I think that's totally different than saying, "Hey, little girl, you be quiet and know your role and never read and find a husband and don't go to college unless you don't have a husband." I think that's a whole different thing than, do you follow me?
No, yeah, we have to correct my daughter on it all the time because she plays with her little cousins, and my daughter's 5 years old. And especially when she was 4, she started doing this thing where when they were playing a game, whether it was just pretend or whether it was with dolls or whatever, she would try to direct the game in the way that she wanted it to go. And she would tell her cousins, who are, in some instances a year or two older than she is, "No, you're doing it the wrong way. This is how we need to do it." And they would get frustrated and they wouldn't want to play because over time, she would do that so much. And so it just became to the point where it wasn't as fun for them. And so we had to sit down with her on several occasions and be like, look, people don't like it when you're that bossy. Like, people want to work together. They want to have fun. They want to, do things the way that they want to do things. And you guys have a good time together. If you're constantly telling people that they're doing things wrong and that, this is the way we're going to do it, and we're not going to do it any other way, my way or the highway, they're not going to want to play with you.
Right. Now, do you find it odd that in my universe, this article came, and then I also got this other article or video online about telling boys that we shouldn't tell boys to be a man.
Right.
And so I just think at the root of this, we're losing the idea that men and women are different, boys and girls are different, and that we need to raise our men to be men and women to be women. And I'm not assigning necessarily traditional roles and all that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying we need to honor the genders we are, the strengths and weaknesses that come with that, and let's not pretend we live in this gender-neutral society.
Right.
Do you follow me?
I know what you're saying.
The thing I was confused by is, like, I'm all for teaching kids, about leadership and achieving their potential. I'm just confused about how banning the word bossy would really get anyone there.
Right.
It doesn't.
I think I've been called worse than bossy since I walked in your door this morning.
Right. But basically what you're saying, if it's truly bossy, is you're saying, quit being a brat.
That's a good response, yeah.
And quit being bossy is a little kinder than quit being a brat, because, is that better? What are they?
Let me use it, okay, because, and I'll probably bleep myself out when I say this on the podcast, or, when I go back through or whatever, but do you think it would be worse to be called than to be called bossy?
Yeah, I would think,
okay.
I would think so.
I think there's more harm in that word.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
more of a foul in that word. And I'm telling you this because Beyonce's husband has made a career out of calling women.
Right.
He's a rapper, he's a gangster rapper, and I love Jay-Z, I love Beyonce, whatever, but, like, don't become an activist if you're doing something that is, that will negate the cause you're trying to promote.
You know what? And that I love when we have something that is clearly ridiculous that we can hobby horse on. And you're absolutely right. That's a clearly ridiculous hypocrisy, contradiction, and that's the thing. You got to find that right medium in life, because you can go too far saying yes, empowerment to the degree that you have bossy children,
right?
And then you can go to the other way where a woman has no value or is almost property, maybe leaning towards the word that Joe's using. And so it's about finding a healthy self-respect, self-esteem that knows social norms, that interacts with people respectfully.
Yeah, well, because Beyonce her career is about selling sex, right?
Right.
And that's how she's become as famous as she's become, selling, obviously she's talented. There are times where she can come across as very classy and she can be a lady, but she sells sex. Jay-Z sells, like, this hyper-masculinity.
Right.
And so he can put out a song like his song Big Pimpin', where the lyrics are, take them out the hood, keep them looking good, but I don't feed them.
Okay.
And so almost like they are this expendable thing.
Right.
They are a piece of property. They are expendable. He only pursues them or visits them when he needs some sort of need fulfilled. You know what I mean? And you can't tell me that the word bossy does more to, I guess, trash the psyche of a woman or a young girl over time than those kinds of lyrics and that kind of lifestyle.
You've so nailed it, and that is, and I can't lie. There's a decent amount of pop music, rap music that I like, and even some of this that's been over masculinized or what. What was the word you used?
Hyper-masculinity.
Hyper-masculinity. You know what I'm saying? Right, because I believe that is what it is, where women are property. You're measured by how much money you make, how good you look. I was gonna. This song out by Miley and some other dude right now called I Got My J's On. That's how we measured people in the 8th grade.
Referring to Jordans. When they say J's.
Referring to Jordans. And that's how we measured people in the 8th grade. And people are much more than those things. How much money they make, the shoes they wear, and women are definitely more valuable than what the rap music puts out there. I just think. And for kids that don't have maybe good parents that are instilling that perspective in them, it's just garbage.
Yeah.
To a good beat. So, Jason, anything on the rap music? I know you love rap music.
Yeah,
Big Jay-Z fan.
Yeah, I always say I stopped listening to rap music when Will Smith stopped calling himself the Fresh Prince. So I'm all over rap music, man.
Right. I would never have to use the name Jay-Z if he had not been in the Suit and Tie video.
Oh, really?
He's not in my universe or my world.
He's definitely in mine. His first album, Reasonable Doubt, is one of my top 5 favorite hip-hop albums of all time.
You're an interesting breed, and you're probably more like most people versus me. You're able to recognize maybe values that shouldn't be propagated on the air and in music, but still take the art for the music and enjoy it.
Right.
While I struggle with that a little bit. If the values are too off rational for me, it does taint my ability to enjoy the art.
It's because I have no values.
I don't buy that.
I have no core.
You just sat here and you just mentioned you're the one that brought band bossy. I mean, this is a value-based conversation.
Right.
But if you want to be the man without values, so be it. So be it.
It's a joke.
Maybe you could get in rap music.
Maybe I could.
Actually, you got some ability. You need to play. It was 1 week on the cap. We need to play some of your stuff.
Well, some of my when I used to rap in college.
Right.
Nowadays, I tell people that, and I'm like the last guy you would ever expect to rap. So,
well, you're right above me, I think.
Right above you. That's right.
I think I'm the last guy that people expect to rap.
But for those who don't know you, like in my office or something, like I tell them, I used to rap, and they're like, yeah, right.
I used to break dance and was pretty good at it. Taught break dance lessons.
You taught break dance lessons?
Oh yeah.
Really?
And so that is such a weird universe that people are like, really, you can't get any more white than David Merle, and you taught break dance.
It's funny
lessons.
that because I've seen your pictures, and you're an interesting guy too, because the evolution is that you looked like Patrick Swayze, and you used to break dance,
right?
And now
met my wife at a camp, which kind of has a Dirty Dancing feel. You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
Oh, really?
Well, no. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is,
did they try to put Baby in the corner?
I guess what I'm saying is, like, Dirty Dancing happened at some like summer camp, and I met my wife at a camp. So okay. I don't know. I'm trying to base my life off Dirty Dancing.
One time at dance camp.
So, have you watched Dirty Dancing recently?
Not really recently.
That's an awful movie. I mean,
it doesn't matter because people only remember the one scene with the lift.
Right.
That's true. People remember the song. People remember the scene. Nobody cares about the rest.
And there's
of the
something
movie.
About walking over a log, I think. But
walking over a log. There's a metaphor there.
I knew. Once it came out, I knew Joe would go there.
And a man without values.
I actually tried to word it in a way that would avoid. But I failed.
There's no getting around me.
Because the first way I was going, I don't know. So
yeah, but back to the values-based conversation. You're right. I mean, this is just. I mean, it's absolutely absurd and it's ridiculous. And again, I think that part of what we've done on the show so far today, between the woman who has, found herself in her own search party.
Now that's woman empowerment right there.
There you go.
One woman search party.
At least she found herself.
Right.
She didn't need someone to ban any words for her.
That's it.
That's true.
Do you get a reward for that?
For finding yourself?
Yeah.
She should get the reward.
$10,000 reward. I got me.
I would like I'd like to report on the cap today. I am missing. Contact me.
There you are.
Jason found you first. Oh, right. Good Lord! All right, but then we've gone on to the Ban Bossy campaign, which is again just extremely absurd. And now we're going to move on to something that, to me personally, and David, you might have a different take on this, is even more absurd, or at least equally absurd.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm saying is that as much faith as I have in the human race, we report on a lot of people that are just stupid. And it is a reflection of how there are always extremes in society. And here we have an extreme. There was a pastor who said that Disney's movie Frozen is turning your kids gay.
You're looking at me, and
I'm just ready for you to. You know the article,
okay.
So you go. Tell me what you think about that.
I obviously don't think that the movie Frozen is turning kids gay.
That's good.
And I don't know what turns people gay. I'm not an authority on that. But just let me throw a few things out. Because I wanted to, because as a person of faith that kind of does get frustrated with Hollywood, I do appreciate they seem to be making an attempt of more faith-based, family-based movies right now. Mm-hmm. But see, it feels like we're kind of getting the crumbs off the table a little bit. The conservative values of, America is good, Christianity's good, those are not themes that seem to be for as amount of people who believe those things, they're not themes that are coming up in movies. So I'm getting to my point. My point being is that I do think Hollywood and Disney does somehow create this feeling that we're kind of not welcome to the table in the arts industry. So I was curious because I wanted to see if there were things that would send me sniffing down this where I see where they're going. Well, I read the article, and then I went to Plugged In, which is a Christian, I believe, put out by Focus on the Family, that they kind of rate movies based on their content and things like that. It got 4 plugged-ins or something like that, which is actually indicating that by and large this is a good movie, and they thoroughly go through these films. So Plugged In gave Frozen a 4 plugs or something like that out of 5.
Out of 5?
Out
Okay.
of 5. 4 out of 5. And the concerns that it had were very small. There was a couple times that, I guess there's times in the movie where it says, what the, and then they don't end it. So, it speculates. And then there's another scene where I guess...
Hoo-hoo.
No, but I
Where's my picket sign?
No. I appreciate what Plugged In's trying to do. And I'm only saying this to say, I think if there was a real subtle... you need to be gay message in Frozen, I think Plugged In would have sniffed it out, and they weren't indicating that. They were saying that they were actually saying that this was a step in the right direction for Disney, that it was because Pixar has kind of had a much deeper and richer values kind of in their thing. Because Disney's kind of always been follow your dreams, trust your heart, all that stuff. And
marry a prince.
Right. And Pixar has kind of said, we can do intelligent animated films. And so Disney is Plugged In saying this was a step in the right direction for Disney. That they were actually saying that the struggle here was not homosexuality, but perhaps could be a metaphor for adolescence.
Well, have you guys seen the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I fell asleep during it.
Okay. I watched it with my daughter. I thought it was great.
I haven't seen it, but I've tried to find, kind of a synopsis of it so I kind of know what was happening. Mm-hmm. I found one that actually mentions this article specifically, and it's kind of the message about, embrace who you are, embrace what makes you different. In the movie Frozen, it's almost so generic, mm-hmm. It's almost a Rorschach test where you're going to see what you see.
Okay.
Right? And so if this particular pastor just has his radar out for, pro-gay messages, that's what he's going to see.
Sure. Okay. All right. And I get that. And I will acknowledge that sometimes we as Christians, we may do that. But I wish that the Hollywood would embrace a little bit. I don't know. I just wish we felt more at the table. I don't know if there's anything they could do for that.
This guy Kevin Swanson is the radio host that said that this was pro-gay, pro-bestiality, and then his quote was, "Friends, this is evil. It's just evil." And dude, it's a kids' movie.
Yeah, okay.
Quit being so sensitive. You know what I mean?
I think so. I think that as Christians and ministers and broadcasters and podcasters and host of the CAP, I think we need to be careful when we address the idea of subtle messages. I think we're going to be on far better territory when we speak about things that are clear atrocities, like perhaps the things in Jay-Z's music. I think we're going to be on far better ground. Now, if we are saying hey, we're not seeing the values that we like in films, I think you can say that, or we're not seeing a more direct connection. Because in this, for instance, there is they get married in a church. There looks to be an Orthodox priest performing the ceremony. And so, I don't know. I think that Christians would like to be included, I suppose. I know that sounds crazy, but I just think out of all the cultures and things that we tend to honor in films, I don't think, especially for the large amount of Christians that we have in this country, we just aren't seeing it marketed like you would think.
I don't know. I mean, I think that Christians need to just go ahead and just chalk it up as something that they can put in the win column, because you are getting a lot more family films.
Okay.
Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, you're getting more Bible-based films, which is definitely a victory for you. But the fact that you're getting more family films in general and things that you can take your kids to see, and you're not going to be embarrassed to watch as an entire family, I think that's what people should be geeked about. And it shouldn't, that these are not rock 'em, shock 'em, blow things up kind of movies with, over-sexualized scenes and this, that, the other. But they dig. And you can, and I'm not attacking Christians as a whole, but these people who make these kinds of complaints, man, they dig at the most minute stuff because they are making a comparison or they are judging it according to, as if it were a movie that came out and said, this is a Christian movie.
Right.
Right. Nobody came out and said, this Frozen is a Christian movie. So
True.
you judge it according to the values that you have as a Christian. It's a family film. And I'm surprised that it was only the pro-gay and the pro-bestiality, because ordinarily when something like this comes out, there's always that guy who's like, there was magic in the movie. They used magic. Magic is evil. We learned from Harry Potter. It's very evil.
I was actually surprised that Plugged In didn't really address the magic. What were you saying?
It's just, whenever somebody starts making a connection between homosexuality and bestiality, that just screams whack job to me.
Oh, yeah.
Those are two... One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. It's like when the Jungle Book came out, where people screaming, "Oh, that's a bestiality message. Right. He's dancing with a bear."
But back to Joe's point, I think that I think that Christian leaders would be far better to talk about in terms of values, talk about the clear violation of the values. If they're going to come out and warn against films, say, hey, if they say, hey, I would guide against taking your family to this film, stick with the things that are clearly ridiculous, clearly out there in your face. Subtleties are going to be a hard time, and I think you're only going to set yourself up for problems when you start talking about subtleties. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's within the realm of possibility that there's subtle value messages in films, but I couldn't give you an example of that.
I just wish, and maybe I'm just too big picture, but I wish people, like everybody, could walk away and they could say, you know what, that was a good movie based on the Be Yourself message. Mm-hmm. That was, we live in a society where there are definitely more followers than leaders, and yet you have a movie that comes out that is, pushing, learn who you are, embrace who you are, and play off that strength, and everyone else is going to love you, and there will be a happy ending to a certain degree. And it's like we can't even embrace that bigger message is something good.
No, I feel you. I actually appreciate that there's a lot more family films, and I appreciate that even, Disney and Pixar have put some very appropriate family films are. But I can understand a little bit that it is tough for some Christians or when you start talking about values and values that films are putting out, it's tough to wrap your mind around what the authority of that value is if it doesn't come from God. I mean, just to be
right.
But I suppose that when you're going to a film that isn't necessarily about God,
right?
You're kind of. Are you putting that on the shelf, or what's the deal?
Expect it. No, but you have to manage your expectations according to the fact that you're not going to see a Christian film. You're going to see a family film that was made by mainstream Hollywood, and there are some Christian people who have the right idea. They say, if we don't like the things that are coming out of Hollywood, then we go out and we become our own Hollywood.
Right,
and that's what people like Kirk Cameron do and whatever. Like, he goes out and he makes films according to the values that he holds and that he wants to put out into society. There's nothing wrong with that, man. That's totally cool. He's doing his own thing. But don't hold mainstream Hollywood to the standards that you have if you're not willing to go out and do it yourself. Just be happy that it's a pretty decent and wholesome movie altogether.
I'm with you. I appreciate the two things. I appreciate that it does seem like what you mentioned, that Christians have decided, you know what, we are going to kind of become our own Hollywood. They're putting out movies like Courageous and Fireproof.
Both good movies.
Yeah, Machine Gun Preacher, some of these things that are out there. Now, in addition to that, I think that if you're going to embrace Hollywood as an entity at all, then Christians need to be wise about what movies they are seeing and putting their dollars in, because that does send a message to Hollywood. We want more films like this.
Right.
And I think that that's a valuable way that you can kind of control the market.
People have questioned recently, too. They've said, why is it that these, some of the Bible-based movies and some of the family movies are getting more play than some of the, mainstream the violent movies, the sexualized movies, the horror films or whatever. And I think that there's, and I'm just putting this out there as a suggestion, there is probably some truth to the fact that values come into play. And I don't just mean, Christian people go see Christian movies or people with families go see family movies. That stuff's there, but I'm talking about something a little bit deeper in terms of if you are a person with lesser values, maybe you're more inclined to download a movie illegally and go watch that horror movie on your laptop or go watch that. Whereas people who have some sort of religious convictions about that kind of thing and upholding the law and whatever, they're going to put their money at the movie theater and do it the legitimate way.
Right.
And so they're finding that they're getting less illegal downloads from a movie like Frozen or from a movie like Son of God than they're getting from, I don't know, The Expendables 2 or some.
Right. Now, are you speculating that, or you heard that is the case?
I'm speculating that. That's my theory.
I think that's a reasonable theory, and I do think you'll see this trend to grow, because I think that I think Christians, both Protestant and Catholic, have a majority in terms of our demographic makeup in this nation, and so I think that people will only begin to see that it's a market that's worth marketing to, tapping into, that has dollars, that will spend money on wholesome movies. And I think you'll see a trend that grows.
Right on.
So,
Jason, any last thoughts on Frozen?
I just think at a point you got to let a kids movie be a kids movie.
All right,
that's true.
True. As parents, though, you're gonna. Now, I'm not saying you attack these subtleties. I've said it numerous times. The subtleties are not the winning argument for this. But I do think if you see something very contrary to your faith or to your values in home, I think you got to talk about that with your kids. You just can't say, well, it's a kid's movie. So the main thing I'd like to see is Jason sing "Let It Be." From
Let It Go.
Let It Go. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no, or Let It Be. In there.
That's the Beatles,
yeah,
actually.
Right. Either one. Jason needs to sing today.
The Beatles didn't turn people gay. They just made people get on drugs.
Let It Go is an incredible song, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you see the Jimmy Fallon where they played it with the classroom instruments?
Yeah, I did. I didn't think that was as, I don't know.
It wasn't as good as the other ones.
Blurred Lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah. I can actually play Blurred Lines on the xylophone, on my daughter's kid's xylophone.
Coming next week on The Cat.
Right. But, Jason, feel free. Go ahead and sing Let It Go.
I'd rather sing Let It Be.
All right. Well, Jason, you were doing some researching this week, and you found some interesting, I guess, stories about actors who had, been passed up for specific roles?
Most of these are actually actors who've turned down roles.
Yeah,
okay. And some of them are pretty iconic. And I didn't send you guys an article because I actually found like 3 or 4, and I couldn't find one that had all the really good ones on there. So I just kind of made my own list.
That's cool. I wanted to get, because it'll get a genuine reaction, I guess.
Yeah, and
as we read through these.
And the one I wanted to start with is the one I mentioned when we were talking about doing this. Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
That breakthrough role for her.
Oh, yeah.
Molly Ringwald turned that down.
Wow.
Molly Ringwald?
Molly Ringwald. She was just kind of sick of Hollywood, and she said later on that she couldn't have done what Julia Roberts did anyway.
Well, no, because she's not a pretty woman, at least by the standards of Julia Roberts.
Molly Ringwald back in the day, though, she was kind of America's sweetheart
They
beauty.
did, but they played her up in a way that so they give her these roles and they make you like her personality and everything. But you look at her, if you just put a picture of her as a standalone, you know what I mean? She looks more like
she's not your escort.
Mad Magazine.
Oh,
then she,
oh my God.
Alfred E. Newman?
Then she does like your top female celebrity.
Oh my goodness.
Being a little harsh here, apparently.
Now, the article I found this on said it was just a rumor, so this may not be fact, but apparently Mel Gibson turned down the role of Maximus in Gladiator that Russell Crowe won an Oscar for.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake, man. I like Mel Gibson, and I think he needs a little boost in the career, and that would have done him some good.
Well, but at the time, he was still pretty popular. He had The Patriot, and he had Braveheart around. It was probably around the same time as those movies, right? Or maybe that was just a little
I think so.
Kind of a little bit, yeah.
I think Patriot and Gladiator came out very similar. I love The Patriot, though.
Patriot was awesome.
That's an incredible movie.
And Braveheart was a one watcher for me because it was so intense, but it was still a good movie.
Do you think Molly Ringwald is bossy?
That's a very good question.
Has she ever been lost in Ireland in her own search party? So.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Molly Ringwald, it was actually going to be called the Dinner Club and not the Breakfast Club. She made him change that.
Right.
Then another one.
No carbs after lunch.
Breaking Bad, Walter White.
Uh-huh.
2 actors turned that down. One was Matthew Broderick.
Oh, yeah?
And the other was John Cusack.
Huh.
And, the situation with that was the creator of the show wanted Bryan Cranston from the beginning. AMC wouldn't sign off on it. It's like, that's the guy from Malcolm in the Middle. Come on, can't we do better? So the other 2 actors turned it down, so they went and watched an episode of The X-Files that Bryan Cranston did, and they were like, okay, yeah, he can do this.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm actually glad that they used, and I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but what I saw of it, he did a very good job with.
He gets a lot of praise for how he handled
Well,
that.
the same thing with Russell Crowe there in Gladiator. It's like you took someone who was not as recognized as, say, Mel Gibson.
Right.
But they created this iconic character. It's like, man, that is amazing. And I actually like that about Hollywood because there's movies where it's like no matter what role Tom Cruise plays, he's Tom Cruise.
Right.
You know, with very few exceptions.
And Tom Cruise is coming up on my list at some point. So.
Right. But at least when you have like these lesser known or no name actors who are, they're still kind of coming up, it makes the role a little bit more believable, I think.
Right.
Yeah, for some. I think I've seen some films where even guys like Tom Hanks make you forget they're Tom Hanks. So and that's a sign, I think, of a pretty good actor. But you're right. Some films you're just sitting there. Like, you even forget like, for me, that's Sylvester Stallone. Whatever film I watch, I'm like, think it's Rocky in Rambo.
Tom Hanks is a fantastic actor, by the way.
He's an amazing actor.
Okay, and then Will Smith turned down the role of Neo in The Matrix.
What?
Yeah, he said when they pitched it to him, he just didn't see it. And when he watched it later, he admitted that he would have completely messed it up.
Wow.
I think he would have. I'm not seeing Will Smith as Neo.
Not at all.
And so... does the franchise do a little, not as well with Will Smith as Neo?
Well, the thing about that franchise, and I'm sad to hear that they're making 3 more movies with The Matrix, is that the second and third movies were bad. Okay, I
actually agree.
I don't know how else to say it.
It seems like everyone else seems to be like kind of Matrix crazy. I'm actually glad that I found some compadres here.
I like the Matrix movies, but I got to be honest with you, I watched all 3 of them one time.
Right.
And I enjoyed them. They weren't.
Yeah, I like the first one, but I think you're right. I think I've seen it once.
I think the first one was fantastic. And
it was
the
good
second
stuff.
one was like a 2-hour car chase, and then the third one, the whole thing was it was like 3,500 Agent Smiths, and it was like a battle scene with the same character like a million times, and I don't know, man, it just didn't do it for me. 2 and 3 I could have done without. If they would have ended it on part 1, I'd have been all right with that.
Yeah, I would have been too. But I've only watched it once. I have no need to watch it again, I don't think.
And then we mentioned Tom Hanks. He won an Oscar for...
What's an Oscar?
That's a completely different thing.
That's a different word show.
Yeah, Tom Hanks won an Oscar for Forrest Gump, largely because John Travolta turned the role down.
Oh, wow.
John Travolta would have been Forrest Gump?
Uh-huh.
Man, John Travolta making some... He also turned down an Officer and a Gentleman.
And that would have been like before he had his comeback with Pulp Fiction, I believe.
Huh.
John Travolta's been known to be in some bad movies and to turn down some good ones. I think that's his claim.
He
to
has
fame.
been in some really bad movies.
Yes, he's been in some stuff I like. I think, in theory.
Yeah,
welcome back, Carter.
Grease. Nothing wrong with Grease.
I like Grease, and
Yeah.
I think I have an like.
Be careful though; it'll turn you gay.
Interesting. I actually would like to probably watch Saturday Night Fever all the way through, but like I'm probably asleep by the time I know how he walks, as a ladies' man or whatever.
There was a Bee Gees reference there. You should have milked that a little bit more.
Can you sing it for me? That I'd much rather.
I have a sore throat.
So
I haven't sung on.
Okay,
I haven't sung on the show yet today, so maybe later.
All right.
And then,
I like the Bee Gees.
Burt Reynolds has turned down 2 iconic roles. He turned down the role of Han Solo.
What?
Which he actually said is the biggest mistake of his career.
Oh yeah.
And then he also he also turned down the role of Superman.
No way.
Like Christopher Reeve Superman? I can't imagine Burt Reynolds in that role.
That one I couldn't see.
I'm
at all.
glad he turned it down.
Roughneck.
I'm glad he turned it down.
But I think he would have been fine as Han Solo. I don't know. He wouldn't have been Harrison Ford good. But I mean, that's like Smokey and the Bandit in space. That's
yeah.
Oh, true.
We go back to
they need to make that movie, Smokey and Bandit in Space.
Go back to She's All That for a minute, though. My favorite line, speaking of Han Solo, is Paul Walker says to Rachel Lee Cook's character, he's like, "You coming to so-and-so's party tonight? Man, you got to be there. His dad has an amazing house. He owns Harrison Ford." She's like, "The actor?" He's like, "No, the car dealership."
Yeah, that's good. In our hometown, there's an intersection of Harrison and Ford.
Is there?
Thought I'd throw that out there.
Then Sean Connery was not the original choice for James Bond. They actually wanted Cary Grant, legendary actor.
Huh.
And he was going to do it, but he would only agree to do one, and they wanted somebody who was going to do sequels.
Yeah. Right.
And that was the deal breaker.
Right, that would make
sense.
sense.
And then Sean Connery later turned down the role of Gandalf.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
He's just retired, and people are constantly throwing roles at him. And he's
I
like,
can
nope.
see Sean Connery's Gandalf.
Yeah,
you shall not pass. Suck it, demon. Suck your mother, demon. Your mother, Balrog.
Not a big fan of the ladies, are you, Frodo? Next week on the Cap, all Sean Connery.
Then, Harrison Ford, he was helped by Burt Reynolds turning down Han Solo. He was also helped when Tom Selleck turned down Indiana Jones.
Wow.
Because he was doing Magnum P.I. and couldn't get out of his contract.
So he's kind of fallen into some really
He's
great
fallen
roles.
into some good fortunes.
His great roles.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I mentioned we had Tom Cruise coming up. He was almost Tony Stark.
No. I can't imagine Tom Cruise as Tony Stark.
Well, the thing is, that movie took several years to get off the ground, and I guess they had a deal in place at the beginning with Tom Cruise. And over the years, to get the movie made, the script went through several changes, and it just reached a point where he didn't want to do it anymore.
They have the right Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr.
He's
he
so
does
good.
He
Yeah.
does
It's hard to imagine anybody else doing that.
I can't, yeah.
Yeah.
If 20 years down the road they try to remake those movies, they're going to have a hell of a time finding another Robert Downey Jr.
He's the Christopher Reeve of Iron Man, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kevin Costner turned down a role in Shawshank Redemption. He was offered Tim Robbins' character.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he chose to do Waterworld instead.
He
Boy,
chose
did that
to
work
drink
out.
urine.
Yes.
Over the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, this one will blow your mind.
Okay.
Okay. Remember the X-Files?
Yeah.
Dana Scully.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Their first choice was Pamela Anderson.
No. That wouldn't have worked out.
That would not have worked at all.
No.
The Michael Keaton Bat, before Tim Burton was brought on to director, their original plan was to do a more comedic Batman as a tribute to like the 60s TV show.
Oh, no.
And their choice was Bill Murray. And could you
As Batman?
As Batman.
Oh, my
I mean,
gosh.
could you imagine if the internet was around for that, the way, people were exploding over Ben Affleck?
Oh, my gosh. I could see him as the Riddler, maybe or the Penguin or something, but not Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Murray could be a bad guy in the Batman universe, but not Batman.
Right.
Because he can pull off, like, dark comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be the hero.
No, I don't think so. It just would have been a totally different thing. It would have been more like the Adam
Would
West
Harold
Batman.
Ramis have been Robin then?
Probably so. They did a lot of things together.
I'm not doing the movie unless Harold's Robin.
Yeah. Kind of like they joke that Matt Damon's going to be Robin.
Right,
You know?
Ben Affleck's Robin, yeah.
You know, Eddie Murphy turned down Ghostbusters and We Are the World.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Career sank. I mean, he shot a bullet in his boat there for a season. I was rooting for Eddie Murphy. Is that weird?
He had some funny movies in the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
He fell off eventually, but man, Coming to America was hilarious.
So Beverly Hills Cop, man, come on, that's classic stuff right there.
And
so
the last one I have, the Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. He's played the role, I think, 7 times, including the movie.
Yeah, he won't give up on the Wolverine.
There is a whole list of people that they tried to get and couldn't.
Before him?
Before him.
I was on that list.
Bryan Singer's original choice was Russell Crowe.
Okay.
He turned it down because he wanted too much money. Some of the other names on the list: Aaron Eckhart, Jean-Claude Van Damme, which I don't see at all.
Not at all.
Viggo Mortensen, Ed Norton, Keanu Reeves, and Gary Sinise.
And Sean Connery.
Okay. None of them got the part. They still didn't go with Hugh Jackman. They gave the role to a guy named Doug Ray Scott.
Who?
No joke, Doug Ray Scott. He's done a bunch of movies I've not even heard of. Okay?
Wow.
And he eventually had to drop out because he was committed to Mission Impossible 2.
Okay.
That's when the role went to Hugh Jackman.
Wow.
So he was like leftovers.
He was like the
bottom
ninth,
of the barrel.
He was like the 9th choice.
He was like 5th string Wolverine.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, that's hardcore.
Which is why he's done so many. He's like, I am so lucky to have gotten this role.
I'm embracing this, and I'm going to show them they have the right guy. So
the last Wolverine movie was not good, and I don't know how many more movies they can milk that franchise for.
I've never seen one of them.
My understanding is the one they just did.
The Days of X-Men Past.
Yeah, my understanding is he thinks he's probably done after that.
I think he should be.
Yeah,
I think he should be.
They're a lot better when he's with other X-Men as opposed to his individual movies.
Right.
You guys love your comic books.
Yeah.
So this week, we're going to go ahead and end the show like we always end the show. We are going to tip the cap to someone who has done something awesome within the course of this week. Jason, start us out.
I'm going to tip my cap to one of our listeners.
All right.
Tom McDonald. He's sent me a couple articles that he's wanted us to talk about. We haven't had a chance to work them in, but I just want to tip my cap to him, tell him to keep it up. And you can follow the show on Twitter @CapPodcast and send us any ideas if you want to hear us talk about it.
Yeah, I love that he's doing that. Thanks, Tom.
I already used mine for a prank phone call, so I'll stick with that.
You're going to stick with prank phone calls?
I'll stick with prank phone calls.
All right. I'm going to tip my cap this week to, I guess a couple people working cooperatively, but Fox, Neil deGrasse Tyson for Cosmos. That show started last Sunday night. The imagery is absolutely beautiful. They really do make science cool, and it makes it simple and interesting, and you can see things, and it gives you a little bit of a different perspective. And they even threw some history in there, which was great. And I have no complaints about the first episode of that show. I'm really excited to see what they do with the rest of the season.
We'll probably have to talk about that show some more. That seems like a real cap-type topic because, it seems like everybody is talking about it.
Good.
Real kind of a culture thing. So we'll have to dive into that.
Yeah. All right. And with that, we tip the cap to the people we got to tip the cap to, and then we say goodbye to you and tip the cap to you. Man, this is some rhyming. See, I really am a rapper.
You are. You are the
rapper
Jay-Z
at heart
of Ruiz Studios.
That's right. Live from Ruiz Studios.
That's right.
We wish you a very happy week, and we will see you next week for episode 10 of the Culture and Arts Podcast. Same place, same time, or whenever you get it.